In today's episode we are going to wiggle with stuff and look concerned.
All my friends, yellow rider.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode. I know it's been a while, so it is kind of a good idea to give you guys an update on all three of the cars, just to give you an idea of all the work that still needs to be done on them. And there is a lot, but there are also a lot of exciting things coming for some of the cars. So yeah, but you'll have to wait until later in the video. Because the first thing I want to announce, and that is probably the biggest update of them all, is that my dad and I are building a workshop next to my old garage. Because my garage that is next to this wall was way too small. You might have seen in some videos that it was literally impossible to work in there. So we are building a 2-car workshop next to my old garage, and the build has actually already begun. We've been building for the past few months, and we have managed to get the flooring done, which means that I have a lot of space to work on my car, which is really nice. It was a pain in the ass to work on like the cobblestone driveway I have right now. But the biggest asset that is going to change the channel entirely is already installed and sitting right beside me. My dad and I got a 4-ton 2-post lift to work on all the cars. Right now it is still sitting outside because we still have to build the rest of our workshop around it. I am so excited about this thing. It is so amazing that I have something like this just sitting in my driveway. The projects and everything else going on with the cars are going to be so much nicer. So now that you guys are acquainted with the lift, I think it's a good idea to take every single one of my cars and put them on it, just so we can get an overview of all the work that needs to be done to them. And I think it probably will be the first time that you guys can actually see the state of the undercarriage of all of my cars. So yeah, we're going to start with the car that you guys had to miss the longest, which is the BMW. My 1986 BMW E28 currently is the biggest project I have. It is a 520i with an M20 B20 straight 6 engine and around 150,000 kilometers. I have acquired it several years ago, but sadly it hasn't really left my driveway since then. Whew, it's hot in here. So the BMW probably has been the car that has been neglected for the longest time. That was because I had to do a lot of stuff on the Golf, and then I got the Audi, which also needed some work. But I am motivated to start working on it again. I think it's time that I put it on the lift, so I can show you the plans for what I want to do to this car in the near future. The first thing I want to talk about is the diesel badge that is on the trunk lid. This trunk lid was taken from a diesel model, hence why the logo is wrong. After all, it should say 520i. Actually, let's just take it off to avoid any more confusion. I'm using some dental floss to cut through the glue, which works like a treat. Minty. Then it was a matter of peeling away the residual glue. So all of the glue is removed. I think with a little bit of polish these edges will be cleaned up pretty easily. But we're not going to do that right now. Let's take a look at the rest of the car. The first thing I need to address is the fact that the BMW is backwards onto the lift, because normally the car should be facing that way, but that is because in the rust removal episode we removed the jacking points on the rocker panel, and I don't dare to put the lifting pads onto the jacking points anymore, so that means I have to lift up the car from the frame rails. But the issue is that the lifting arms on my lift, especially the short part, is not long enough to reach the frame rails, so that is why I need to use the long arms to reach the frame rails, and I use the short ones for the backside. Okay, so my goal for this car is to get it through technical inspection, and when it passes technical inspection, that means I can register and insure the car. But to pass inspection, there are some things we need to do to the car, so that is what we are going to take a look at right now. So the first thing I will need to address is the fact that all the bushings on the subframe are totally shot. I think they were already bad when I got the car, but sitting in my yard for 5 years hasn't really helped that. So I think the plan will be to take off the entire subframe and just replace every bushing that is in it. And I will also have to take a look behind these sections, because E28s are notorious for getting rust behind these bushings, and if I poke it with my finger, it looks like there are some rust bubbles behind it, so the rust fixing saga might not be finished yet. The next thing that is on the list is fitting a rear muffler. To pass inspection, a car needs to have all its mufflers installed. I already sourced one, so it will be a matter of welding it into the existing pipe. In the front of the car, the suspension components look quite rusty, but they don't look as bad as the ones in the rear. Depending on my financial situation, I might change all of them, but I think there is a possibility the car might pass without changing them. For the inspection, that should be everything that still needs to be done to the BMW. The brakes, suspension and most of the rust issues are already handled, so actually it doesn't need a lot of work to get roadworthy. Let's put it down on the ground and move on to the next car. Now that we've gone over the BMW, let's take a look at the Audi. For those of you who are new to the channel, this is my high mileage 2006 Audi A6 Allroad. It has got a 3-liter TDI engine with almost 400,000 kilometers on the clock, and it is still going strong. So the Audi has been my daily driver for the past few months, and it has done it pretty much perfectly. There was one small hiccup, and when I say small, it's kind of an understatement. But we'll talk about that later. But otherwise, the car has driven great, no complaints really, apart from the occasional black puff of smoke that comes out of the exhaust. So considering the health of the engine, I was pretty confident that everything was okay there. But then I got contacted by a company called Carly, and they make these awesome little OBD scanners that you can use to read out codes or perform codings on your car with your cell phone. And I have to say that I was pleasantly surprised by how this works. but I was unpleasantly surprised about the amount of codes that this thing read for me. So I'll just connect this to the car so you guys can see all the errors that this thing is exposing for me, which actually is quite a good help. So yeah, let's do that. After putting the adapter in my OBD port, I'm starting the car so the adapter can read out every possible module. Then I'm opening the app and hit connect, so my phone and the adapter can establish a connection. When the connection is made, I can press the health menu and let it check for issues. It does this by reading out every module on the car to see if any error codes have popped up. More than 17 issues were detected, which is more than I was expecting. Most of the codes concerning my engine were coming from my intake. Specifically, the throttle body seems like something I have to look at in the future. I also have to say that it is very handy that Carly shows the severity of the problems by means of a color code. So Carly found a lot of error codes, not only for the engine but also for the comfort systems, like for example my central locking problem. It also gave a code for that. Another cool thing that you can do with this is do codings, and I've actually already used it on my dad's BMW. He had an annoying start-stop system which really drove him crazy. So with Carly I just removed it in I think 3 minutes, and it's been great ever since. So if you are in the market for like an OBD scanner, definitely take a look at Carly, because yeah, I'm really impressed with how they work. A few episodes ago you guys could see that the Audi's front end was taken apart. That was because I did an oopsie. When servicing the car I changed the oil and the oil filter. The oil filter sits in this canister, which is closed off by a seal. I didn't mount the seal right, which made the seal fail and which spilled more than a liter of oil into the crevices of my engine. There is no room for your hands to reach in the engine bay, so to clean up this mess we had to take apart the whole front end. In doing so I found out that the radiator had a hole in it and that the alternator was filled with oil. So I replaced the radiator and got the alternator fixed and then installed everything back on the car. You can check out the full story on my Discord. I have explained it fully with pictures and stuff, so if you're interested in what happened, go check that out. Other than that, the car has been fine, apart from a knocking noise that is coming from the front right corner. So that is the first thing I'm going to check. One arm on the multi-link suspension has failed, so that is most definitely the source of the sound. And I am surprised that it is that bad. Okay, so I guess that's one mystery solved. Now let's put it all the way up and let's see what else we can find. Looking at the underside of the car, I don't really see any other major suspension issues. It all looks pretty much in good shape. I did however see that there is an issue at the rear of the gearbox. The seal from the drive shaft is probably leaking, so that is something that will need to be addressed in the near future. It doesn't look like it's like fully on leaking, but it is sweating a little bit, so that is something that I will need to do. It also seems that part of the under tray has left the car. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, but that's not a major issue. I'm just gonna leave it like that. Maybe tighten this down a bit because this might make a lot of noise. Other than that, no more issues caught my attention, so it can be dropped down. That means we can move on to my last and favorite car, the Golf. My Mk1 Golf is the first car I ever bought, and it definitely is my forever car. It has been a trusty companion for more than 8 years, and I hope there are many more to come. The last time I drove it on the Nürburgring trip, the head gasket on my 1.8 liter seemed to have some issues, and there were other issues popping up as well. Let's take a look at them and make sure to watch until the end, because there is very exciting news coming for this car. The Golf is ready to go on the lift, but I have to go somewhere, so we'll pick up the inspection on the Golf tomorrow. Okay, so it's the next day, let's continue this episode. The Golf is already on the lift, so we'll take a look at everything that is wrong with it right now. The last time you guys saw it was in the Nürburgring episode, and there are some things that need addressing after that weekend, but we'll take a look at it now. The first thing I want to address is an issue with the brakes. When we were on our Nürburgring adventure, everybody was driving their cars pretty hard, including me. And I noticed that my brakes were getting really hot, really fast, and faster than the other Golfs and Jettas that were coming along. Which is strange, because I have changed or even upgraded my brakes from solid rotors to ventilated ones. So I was really confused about it, but when I saw this wheel, it is apparent that the brake rotor is still dragging onto the disc, which explains my heat issues. It is strange because last year I changed everything that was on the caliper, the piston, the sliders and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know, maybe I have to do it again, maybe I did something wrong. So this caliper will need to be opened again to see what is wrong with it. Okay, so now let's talk about my head gasket. The first thing I'll say is that these iPhone earpods are for recording the audio through this microphone, so don't pay attention to those. So yeah, there is an issue with my head gasket. A lot of people were saying, oh, isn't it your valve cover that's leaking or something? But as you can see, everything is dry over here. There's no oil anywhere. So let's take a look at the head gasket under the car. You can see that there's an oil stain going up all the way to the top of the engine. Actually, right before the trip I tried to seal it a little bit better by putting some liquid gasket on there, right over here. But if I feel over here, it's just full of oil. And on top of it, it is fully dry. So yeah, I'm pretty sure the head gasket is gone. So I was planning on fixing the head gasket and then leaving the engine in for another year and maybe do some performance modifications. But a few weeks ago I stumbled upon a deal that I couldn't refuse, so there will be no need to fix the head gasket. Let me show you. This is a 2-liter 8-valve engine from a Mark IV Golf. This engine is very similar to the ones that can be found in Mark III GTIs, and it is what will be replacing my 1.8. I wasn't really planning on doing another swap, but this thing popped up on Facebook Marketplace for 100 euros, so I couldn't resist buying it. Being an 8-valve is ideal because everything is exactly the same as on my 1.8, except for the cylinder head, which is slightly different. The new engine has a cross-flowed cylinder head, which means that the intakes are in the front and that the exhaust is in the rear. Another difference is that this engine normally uses fuel injection, but I will be using something else. We'll take a closer look at this engine once the build begins, but I can't wait to feel the power difference. But wait, there's more. What you see here are two double-barrel Delorto DHLA 40 carbs that will be supplying the new engine with fuel. I got these before the new engine and I was planning on building them onto my 1.8 engine. On the 1.8, these would sit right above the exhaust manifold, which is far from ideal. The hot air around the exhaust will make the carbs lose efficiency and they can cause vapor lock. Therefore, it is ideal to use these on my new engine with the crossflow head, so that the carburetors will sit towards the front, taking in fresh, cold air. So this setup should boost our power figure significantly, and I think it also will sound incredibly well. I can't wait to throw everything on, but before we do that I have to buy a revision kit for these Delortos, because if you listen, there is some wear and tear on them and I don't know if the jetting is right for this engine. So both of them will be taken apart completely and rebuilt. And after that is done, we can throw it on the engine and then we can enjoy some insane intake noises. So those are some exciting plans coming for the Golf, and it means another engine swap series is coming soon. I hope you guys are as thrilled as I am. So now you guys are up to speed on every car that I have. If there is a particular car that you want me to work on, please let me know in the comments. I will try to listen to you guys. But I have to admit that I'm really excited to start working on the Golf, because that engine setup with those carbs will be incredible. So I guess that's it for this episode. Thank you to everyone for watching. Also thank you to Carly for sponsoring this video, and thank you to my Patreons Milian and Matthew. You guys are freaking awesome. See you guys next time.